So let's now start the build. As you can see, I've got my motherboard here. I've already opened the socket, and to open the socket, for you beginners who haven't really done so before, what you want to do, I've got this retention arm here. You want to lift that up, push down on this tab here, and open it like so. Now, what you want to do next is align the tabs up with the tabs on the actual CPU socket. So there's one there, that tab there. And there's another one right here. So what you want to do is align the tabs up, just like that. Drop your CPU in, slowly, gently. Check it's firmly in place. You just want to drop the retention arm, retention bracket down. And you want to push back down the retention arm until it clicks in place. Next, you want to install your RAM, and to do that, what you want to do is open up the slots that you're going to insert your RAM into. Open up these tabs. It's already open. The 2's already open. Now what you want to do, you get that like that, align it up. See that notch? You want to make sure that notch is aligned up with the DIMM. Slowly push it in place, and what you want to do is put your both thumbs on the edge or corners of the RAM stick, and you just want to push until you hear the clicks. There you go. You want to do the same for the other DIMM. So you slide it in, and then you just push on it. Then you hear the clicks. Once the clicks are in, you're good to go. Next, what you want to do is get some sort of surface purifier, such as this, OptiClean thermal remover, to remove the thermal material off the CPU. You want to put a bit of that on. So you put the bit of just a splodge of it there. You get a cotton bud like that, and you just want to spread it around and just clean off all the material. Next, you want to get Surface Purifier 2, which is this, is the second one, Thermal Purifier 2. What you want to do the same, just a drop of that on the surface, drop of that on the surface of the CPU, and you just want to work that solution across the entirety of the CPU. Make sure it's all nice and clean. As you can see, the gunk and that cotton bud is just amazing. Now you want to do the same for the heatsink if you're not using an old heatsink. So here, see all that gunk? What you want to do, I'm going to get this, number 1, splodge on it, on a little dab of it like on there. I'm going to clean that surface. Put a bit more on. And make sure that surface is clean. Normally you would have a standard Intel heatsink, which you can just push down on the clips and it will just click in to these holes here, 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 here and here. But since I've got a large heatsink to dissipate a large amount of heat, that's why I removed the old heatsink, which was in fact the Intel cooler, or the Intel CPU fan. So next you want to get some thermal paste, such as Arctic Silver, like that. I'm going to put like a pea size of this thermal paste on the CPU. That should do. Once you've done that, you're going to get your heatsink. And you're going to place it down like so. The thing is, if you put too much heat, thermal compound on, it will spread out over the edges of the CPU, and you don't want that. So that's why you only put a pea size. Now with this heatsink, you have to secure it down with the retention bracket, such as this. So you want to slide it in there. Make sure it clips on. You want to get it like that. carefully place it in. Then what you want to do is just expand these brackets by opening them up. Just want to align them like that. You want to make sure it's even on each side, otherwise you're going to have some problems. I'll be back in a bit once I've installed this this heatsink. I'm back again. Now when you're installing this type of heatsink, what you want to do, you want to start off tightening it in a cross pattern. So you go from tighten it a bit here, then you tighten it a bit here, and then you go to this side, turn it a bit, this side, and then you repeat that same process. And you don't want to over tighten any screws, you just want to have them secure, because if you over tight the screws, what can happen, it can bend the motherboard and it can cause the motherboard to crack. So I would advise that you do not over tighten the screws if you're using this type of heatsink or a similar heatsink. Now, as I tie this down, I'd just like to talk to you. When you're actually working with computers, make sure you are grounded. When I say grounded, I mean that you are not building up any static, because when you're moving your hands or touching the computer part, you're kind of building up static. So to prevent that, you can use an anti-static mat with the anti-static wristband, or you can use a non-conductive surface such as a wood surface. And in addition to that, you can touch the case, like literally you can just hold on to the case. So make sure you're grounded to the same electrical charge as the component. Also make sure not to touch the CMOS battery while doing this, because if you touch a CMOS battery and you're statically charged, meaning you've got static and you haven't grounded yourself, it can shock the component out. So just be wary of that. So see, now I've got them tightened down. Most people tend to tighten the screws down like this, then this. They go like this instead of a cross-check pattern. Go to this one, tighten that one down a bit. Then you want to go to this one here. Tighten that down. You just want to give a, once it's tightened down, just tighten it like 1/4 of a turn or 1/3 of a turn. Just to make sure that the screws are actually tight. Now that you've done that, we'll continue. Now that I've done that, I'll continue with the next step, which is the next step is to place your motherboard onto the standoffs. So to do that, give you a quick overview. Just quickly show you. We install your motherboard onto these standoffs. As you can see, you also at this stage install the rear IO or the IO shield. Once you've done that, you want to make sure that all these cables are clear of the standoff. Make sure they're clear, and then you want to grab your motherboard by the heatsink, and then you want to carefully align it with the standoffs. So as you can see, my motherboard is nearly aligned. So you align it with that standoff. Check all of the standoffs before you tighten down the motherboard with the screws. Once you've put the standoffs in, align your motherboard and done that, what you want to do, and put the screws in, what you want to do is, can you see that right there, that standoff? You want to screw your screws into those standoffs. And I would advise, when using a computer, not to use magnetic screwdrivers. The reason being, they can cause they can static out the motherboard. Basically, can shock the motherboard, give a motherboard basically a static shock. Once you screw them all down, you just want to double check that they're tight. Once you've screwed all the standoffs down and secured them with screws, what you need to do next is you need to put your graphics card in, slot it in, align it with these slots here. You do, get your graphics card, align it with the screws, the holes. Once there, carefully press down on it. And that's done. Now what you want to do after you've done that, you want to secure it with some screws. I think they call them square head screws, I'm not sure. You can just call them screws anyway. So you just want to secure them right here. Right there. Screw it in. Next step is to install your graphics card. And what you want to do is, if you haven't already, take these slots out here, the panels, these panels here, these, you want to take them out, and you want to make sure they have these two gaps depending upon the size of your graphics card. Once you've done that, see that PCI Express slot, the blue one, what you want to do is just slide it in there. Slide your graphics card in there, making sure that it aligns up with the slots accordingly. Here, see them slots? You want to make sure it's and use a screwdriver, obviously. All you want to do is line up your storage solution or SSD or hard drive, line it up with the holes, there and there, and then what you want to do is get your bracket, tallest bracket, put in like that, and turn it this way. Now, without the use of no screws at all, it's in place. Now you want to do the same for any additional storage solutions that you may or may not have. So you just want to slide it into the corresponding slot, align the holes up, put that there. Make sure the screws are the holes are actually lined up, otherwise you won't be able to put it in the bracket here. You won't be able to put it in. So all you want to do is just line the holes up and screw it down. Well, not screw it down because it's too list. There you go. Once in, just want to turn in this direction like this. Just once. So once like that. Once you've done that, you want to do the same and repeat the process. There, and turn this way, flat down. Last one now. Last one, just line the holes up. Sorry, it's my fault. I accidentally turned it the wrong way. Therefore, the ports on the back and the inside of the holes are lining up. Line the holes up right there. Get your bracket, push down on it, and just turn. Done. Now these three are secure. Once you've done that, you can begin connecting them up to the motherboard. To do that, you get a SATA cable. Use a SATA cable. This is a straight angle SATA cable, which I'm going to be using. So what you want to do first is just plug it in into that slot there, right there. That's a SATA slot. You just want to plug it in. Like so, I mean. And you want to do the same for that, but before you do that, you want to install your power supply. So now that I've got my power supply, show the power supply. There you go. Then you just want to screw it down. Just want to screw it down into the corresponding slots or into the corresponding holes. It's a bit difficult when you're recording to do single-handedly, but oh well. Screw them in. Done. Move on to the next one. Screw that one in. Nowadays you get modular power supplies. I mean digital power supplies. You also get fully modular power supplies, meaning that the wires, these, can be taken out. Put it there. Gotta be careful not to thread the actual holes again, because then you would have to thread them again, or you would have to just get another power supply. Unfortunately, just want to screw this in. That is now secure. Once you've installed your power supply, what you want to do is basically get your SATA connector, put it in the SATA port, like so, click that in, done. Then you want to put this in this slot here. Don't know if you can see that properly. And that's up there. Put that in there. Sure it doesn't come out. Done. Next, you're going to get your 24 pin and 4 pin, and what you want to do with 24 pin first, so make sure you've got this like this, or the cable like that. You want to feed it through the cable, gently pull it, or you can just disconnect this in the first place. Sorry about that. Now get your 24 pin, plug it into this slot right here. Be sure to not press too hard on the motherboard, like over. Don't press too hard on the motherboard, because if you do, it can crack the motherboard. Now see these SATA power connectors. What you want to plug it in to your drive, into your hard drive. Then with the SATA cable, this connector right here, which is a straight angle connector, what you want to do is just connect it up. Now this is a USB connector. What you want to do, see where it says on the motherboard F USB 1, you want to put it in USB 1. You want to match, you want to fit it in exactly, you want to fit it exactly where the pins are, accordingly like this. Once you've done that, once you put it in, look for another connector called HD audio or audio, and that will go in that green, this slot here, this one here, right here. Be careful not to bend the pins, because if you do bend them, there's a chance that you could break them, or you would have to solder them back on. Now you got that in, what you want to do next is just check the connections that you've done so far, and after you've done that, what you want to do is the connection that you got so far. If you've got like clips like this here, so that clip here, this one, you want to tuck everything underneath that so it looks nice and tidy. This part of building a computer is called cable management, by the way. Now this cable here, for a fact I know that this goes, see that white sock there, so which says combo on it, it goes in there. So essentially what you're doing is just fitting the holes with the corresponding pins. That's what you're doing. That's all you're doing for cable management. So see, this is 4-pin. Now I've got, it's a 4-pin connector. I need to find the adapter for it, which I removed during the process when I was stripping the computer down. I'll be right back. Once you've installed your power supply, what you want to do is basically get your SATA connector, just put it in the SATA port, like so, click that in, done. Then you want to put this in this slot here. I don't know if you can see that properly. In that slot there. Put that in there. Sure it doesn't come out. Done. Next, you're going to get your 24-pin and 4-pin, and what you want to do with 24-pin first is make sure you've got this like this, or the cable like that. You want to feed it through that cable, gently pull it, or you can just disconnect this in the first place. Sorry about that. Now get your 24-pin, plug it into this slot right here. Be sure to not press too hard on the motherboard, like over. Don't press too hard on the motherboard, because if you do, it can crack the motherboard. Now see these SATA power connectors. What you want to do, you want to plug it in to your drive, into your hard drive. Then with the SATA cable, this connector right here, which is a straight angle connector, what you want to do is just connect it up. Now this is a USB connector. What you want to do, see where it says on the motherboard F USB 1, you want to put it in USB 1. You want to match, you want to fit it in exactly You want to fit it exactly where the pins are, accordingly like this. Once you've done that, once you put it in, look for another connector called HD audio or audio, and that will go in that green, this slot here, this one here, right here. Be careful not to bend the pins, because if you do bend them, there's a chance that you could break them, or you would have to solder them back on. Now you got that in, what you want to do next is just check the connections that you've done so far, and after you've done that, what you want to do is the connections that you got so far. If you've got like clips like this here, so that clip here, this one, you want to tuck everything underneath that so it looks nice and tidy. This part of building a computer is called cable management, by the way. Now this cable here, for a fact I know that this goes, see that white sock there, so which says combo on it, it goes in there. So essentially what you're doing is just fitting the holes with the corresponding pins. That's what you're doing. That's all you're doing for cable management. So see, this is 4-pin. Now it's a 4-pin connector. I need to find the adapter for it, which I removed during the process when I was stripping the computer down. I'll be right back. I'm back. When you're doing your connecting up your drives, what you want to do, you want to make sure that the drive with the operating system on, or the drive that's gonna have the operating system on, is plugged into the first SATA port, which is SATA port 0. Secondary SATA ports can be plugged into any of these. I'm gonna plug this one into here. Plug this one into there. Make sure it's firmly in. Don't wanna pull it out by accident. That's firmly in. Shouldn't that. Put the cables to one side. And also make sure that the cables are not like that, like this, close towards the fan, because that can cause damage if caught up in the fan. We'll move on to the front I/O now. See them pins here in the white with a little diagram above them. What you want to make sure is these pins, the front IO pins, the connectors I mean, sorry. The front IO connectors into the corresponding pins. Put the front connectors into the corresponding pins. So this one here, focus. This one here. Hard drive LED. It's gonna go like so. Next one, you get your reset switch. That's gonna go right next to it. And the power is gonna go just above the reset switch according to that little diagram there. You can see. There. Put in. Then you've got your front LED, your power LEDs. Notice that they've got a plus and a minus sign on them. With them, what you want to do is match them up to the corresponding pins. So in this case, it would be just take a look at them. You just pop that one in there like that. Power LED minus. Pop that one in there like that. Make sure they're in. And that's the job done. Next, what you want to do is connect the 4-pin connectors up. This here. Next you want to connect these connectors up. 4-pin connector. Male. No, this one's a female. The other one's a male. Connector, as you can see, male. So what we do. 4-pin coming from power supply. Because I've got a because the cable coming from my power supply is short, I've used the extension. Just connect them like this. Yeah, job done. Does it like that now? I mean, where is it? Focus. You go like that. The old one. And then what you want to do is get this connector and connect it right there. Connect that connector, 4-pin connector, connect that up. Once you've done that, you want to think about hooking up your fans. So as you can see here, this is a PWM female connector, and this will receive a male connection from a PWM fan. So I got 2 of them. So now what I want to do is I'm already receiving one from the front panel. Join these connectors up. I'm going to connect these connectors up like so. Like that. And if you've got additional fans, you can do that as well. Once you've done your cable management, if you've got any additional connections left, connectors to connect up, just connect them up like so. Like so, just connect them up, pop, done. See this, if you've got any additional fan headers, but you don't have any PWM connectors, female connectors coming from your power supply. If you don't have any PWM headers, I mean, if you don't have any PWM connectors come from your power supply, you can use the PWM headers on your actual motherboard. So see this, I've got one of my system fans. I'm just gonna plug it into this connector right here. Line it up with the pins. Push down on it, done. Once you've done that, you want to start securing down the fan with these screws. Just line up your fan like so. Just like that. Get a screwdriver, start screwing them in. Once you got one in, it becomes a lot easier. You might be wondering as to what these holes are here. These are actually water grommet holes. If you're doing a custom loop, then you're more likely to be using these types of holes, or grommets as they call them. Connect the screw in, I mean. There you go, 2 more to go. Got one more fan to go in. This is actually for the heatsink. So you would need to plug it into a system fan header, which is there. We also refer to as a CPU fan header or PWM header. We're just going to connect this connector up to the PWM header down there. Got that connector in now. Once you've done that, if you are using this type of a heatsink, please make sure that you put pads on the fans. On the fan. Just want to line it up like that. when installing your fan, what you want to do is align it up. Now what we're going to do is, after connecting that PWM header with its connector, that connector there, now that we've connected the fan up, the fan connector to the PWM header, I'm going to attach the fan to the heatsink. And to do this, all you need to do is position the fan, make sure the make sure the wire is as short as possible, because you don't want it getting caught up in the fan itself. So, align it with the bracket. And you just want to make sure that it lines up with the notches. There you go. You just push on it. Make sure that these pins here and up in these tabs are actually in the groove. This groove here. This groove here. So that's nice. Nice now. It's getting better. Now what you want to do, if you are thinking of having an optical drive, what you'll need is one of these, an IDA cable, and all you're going to do with that is connect both the optical drive up, this optical drive here, as you can see, this optical drive here, up to the motherboard connector right there where it says IDE. So there. Push down on it. Just push down on it now. Make sure it's in. Sometimes it looks like it's in, but it's actually not. And then just connect it up like that into this receiving connector right here. Make sure it's connected. There you go. See this? This is dangerous, so be cautious of that. So move this out the way now. It's not needed. If need be, you can wrap the IDE cable around the other cables. I'll show you that in a minute. Be back in a minute. I'm back. I've just done a bit of cable management just so you can see what I'm actually doing. So as you can see, just a bit of cable management. Now, as I mentioned, connect the IDE up to the DVD connector, and then what you want to do is supply power to it from the power supply. So you use a 4-pin Molex connector, and all you want to do is slot in this is, by the way, a female Molex to a male Molex adapter. So what you want to do, see, Molex. Just want to connect them together like that. Now what you want to do is install the other fan, because now we've got another fan header branching out from the power supply. So what we're going to do is just going to place this fan here. And the way you orient the fan is very important, because if you orient it with the fins facing towards the grill like that, then you're bringing air into the system. Whereas if you do the opposite and you put the fan like that, you're actually taking air out of the system. In this case, we're going to be bringing air into the case. So this would be your intake fan. You can just align it with the holes, get a screw. Alright, I'm gonna screw it in now. There you go. Another one here. Once again, align the screw with the hole. There, right there. Put the screw in. And start screwing down your fan. The same for the last one here. Once you get the screw in, and start in. You just want to continue screwing it in. Once it's done, let it be. And I've also got this, which is a diagnostic speaker. Some people just call it a speaker. Basically what this does, it beeps, makes a beeping sound. Every time your computer starts, normally it'll make one beep. So this is optional to put in. If you want to put it in, you can, and if you don't want to, you don't have to. But I tend to put it in. It helps me to diagnose when a problem occurs. Now this, you just, like I said before, you just want to install this, which is also audio, into the audio port, which is there. Oh, focus. Which is there, the green, where you can see audio. See this one lined. I'll hold up there, like that. And then push them down into the pins on the motherboard. Now that's done. We're nearly finished. Before we do, we just got to do a quick check that we've got everything installed. Then we can close up the case. It's always good to do a check, because sometimes you might get an error saying that, or the computer might show you error, or it won't start at all, just because simple Molex connector isn't plugged in, or a 4-pin connector isn't plugged in, etc. So just check that all the connectors are in, and then you can start to close up the case. Now the final steps to building a computer are check your connections, check that everything's inserted properly and is connected to the motherboard. Once you do that, you can put the front panel back on. All you need to do, the final step to building a computer is to put the front panel back on. Simply click it in place. Done. And put the side panels back on. I've already done one of them. As you can see, got one more connection to connect up, and that is the fan. Now all you got to do is just join these two connectors together to connect them up. Just like that. Just click it there. Done. Put the wire in there. Check everything once again just to finalize. And finally, just put the cover back on the side panel. Like so. Pop it in. make sure it's properly seated and flush and is locked in. Then what you want to do, the final step in building your computer is just to put the side panel back on like that. Just how you took it out. Put the side panel back on and just screw the thumb screws back in. That's grammar. Yeah. That's